computer. Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to a new Cattler Conversations. Today we have a very special guest, Associate Director at Merck Animal Health, Rodrigo Souza. How are you today, sir?
Hi Ryan. I'm doing great, and thank you for having me here.
Excellent. I think that you have a great story to share with everybody. That's why we wanted to have you on Cattler Conversations. Would you be so kind as to telling us a bit about yourself and what made you want to go into the beef industry ultimately?
Sure, no, that's a good question, and I would say on our industry there is always like two type of folks: the ones that they were born on it, and the ones that are implanted to the industry. And I would say like I'm almost a hybrid there. My family, it's really not coming from the livestock industry, but when I was young, kind of like around 10 years old, we bought a ranch and I grew up there. So I'm kind of like a little bit of a hybrid. And growing up on a ranch was a great experience. So to be honest, it was more like a hobby farm, but I had the chance to grow around beef cattle, dairy, swine, pigs, chicken. Basically, you name the animal, at some point I had it on the farm. And based on that experience growing up on the range, I decided to go and pursue my career in animal science. I did almost everything that you can think, going from bachelor's, master's, PhD, and I've been working in the industry for about 5 years now. And it's been a very interesting journey. I would say I started working with beef cattle back on my bachelor's in Brazil, really focusing on nutrition. And at that time, I was working a lot with residual feed intake, so like how we can improve efficiency through nutrition on feedlot cattle. After my bachelor's, I had the opportunity to work with sheep. In fact, I went back to my family ranch and built up a sheep farm, and was a great experience. We had like basically coming from a backyard production with 4 or 5 animals. It grew to more than 1,000. And we kind of like integrated everything, even developing our own brand of premium lamb meat, having our stamp on it, selling it in the market. So it was a very good experience.
And
Then when I came,
where was your farm in Brazil?
yeah, so it was in São Paulo State,
Okay,
about kind of like 2 hours from São Paulo City.
cool. And share me about a little bit the experience of the sheep experiment, like because you went from zero all the way up to 1,000.
Mhm. Yeah. So in fact, kind of like we had planned to have like a growth on the herd, kind of like it kind of basically when I finished my bachelor's, I had the option to go to work just for someone, build up something from my on my range, or go to do my master's. I end up deciding to go back to the range and develop something by myself. And I basically pitched it to my family two business case. One was with beef cattle, and another one was with sheep. Beef cattle was just a lot of capital up front, and we decided to go with sheep. And we had the benefit that sheep just grow very fast, right? Kind of like the herd grows quicker.
Right.
In Brazil, we have a specific breed that we can breed them 3 times every 2 years. There is a lot of twins, triplets, so kind of like that just multiplies quick. And I think business was doing good. Like were getting good returns. So like I was buying a lot of animals and just exponentially growing that herd.
Very
And
cool.
then integrating the value chain really helped us to generate more, to keep more cash into the business by selling that high premium product in the market.
Oh, cool. And so then from there, you did your career in nutrition and then you moved to the States to pursue your PhD, right?
Yeah, So
And what I mean, because to go into PhD, I feel it's those people that kind of know what they want to do, or like they have a very specific knowledge. How did you come to the idea of getting a PhD?
So mine was a very different approach on the PhD. I was kind of like really a commercial guy, kind of like I was working on the farm. I did at that same time I was doing a master's in Brazil, but the master's was with sheep research on sheep and was really associated to the farm. I wanted to be more efficient on my farm, and that combined with my master's looking on nutrition. And when I had when I finished my master's, business was doing good. That was my plan to keep working on the farm. But it came the opportunity to come to the US. So it was not something that I was chasing, but the Brazilian government has a very good system to send students abroad, and I was granted a scholarship to come to the US and do my PhD. And so very different from the traditional path. And I was kind of like really on a position that said, hey, you know what? It's a new experience, new opportunity. Let's do it. If things doesn't work out, I can always come back home. So that's kind of like how I end up going to the PhD. And I'm very happy. Kind of like, I think that was the correct decision at the time.
And what was your PhD in, and what did you work
Uh-huh.
on there?
So that was a challenge because until that point, I've worked like with beef and with sheep. My PhD was with dairy cattle and statistics. So
Wow.
dairy cattle, completely new world for me. Yes, we're still on the ruminant, so kind of like that was good, but completely different ways to feed animals there. And stats, at that point, I hated it. I was like, hey, to run the stats on my master's was just like a nightmare. I said, like, okay, now I'm going to do a PhD on dairy cattle, new space, and on stats that I really didn't like it. But things just worked really well, and like my research project per se, it's very interesting, or at least I think it's interesting because during my period doing my PhD at Michigan State was the same time that on the dairy cattle they were renewing the NRC guidelines, and my advisor Mike van der Haar, he was part of the NRC committee, and he was responsible for updating the dry matter intake and digestibility chapters of the NRC. And that was my research. So I ended up developing the new equations that went into the NRC. That's now called the NASN 2021 dairy cattle. So for the nutritionists working with dairy there, if you like the new equations, great job from Mike van der Haar. If you don't like it, you can blame the PhD student that did it.
Yeah, no worry. That's why we need the PhD students to do all the hard work. And so like after PhD, you had you left, and where'd you go, and then how did you ultimately finish up in Merck Animal Health, basically? How
Uh-huh.
does
That,
how does that road go?
uh-huh. No, yeah, I think that I was very fortunate to work for great companies and being able to build a very good experience and kind of like from there. So out from my PhD, again, kind of like PhD for me was not really kind of like my dream of. Kind of like I was always like a commercial. The PhD came as one opportunity, and I'm glad that I took it. But I was always kind of like, hey, I want to go to industry. That's like my path. So my PhD was kind of short. I did it like in 3 years, 3 years and a half, and went to work for a multinational company as the business director on animal nutrition. Was a great experience. Like I was fairly young at that time, and I was traveling all the places. My responsibility was really dairy cattle in US and Canada, but ended up working across all Americas, as I'm Brazilian and I kind of like speak Spanish and Portuguese, of course. I end up working from Uruguay to Canada, supporting the dairy cattle nutrition business. That company was from France, so I had the chance to do multiple trips to Europe and got very familiar with that market as well. So right off the bat, that was like a great first job for me here in the US. And I was really happy. Things were working well, but after 2 years, I was recruited by a nutrition company to do technical support on dairy in California, and I decided to make that jump. So kind of like going from a commercial role into technical support, working very close to nutritionists and dairy producers in California. That was like great experience, really enjoyed. And about a year and a half ago, I had the chance to join Merck on the ventures team.
Well, and what do you do on the ventures team? Like, what is your
Yeah.
role there, and what projects do you enjoy working on, and what projects do you guys usually work on?
Uh-huh. So working on the ventures, it's really kind of like being a blast and really kind of like a learning process for me, because now I'm no longer into kind of like a technical role where I have a very strong background, but it's really kind of like testing new business models, testing new technologies. And what I really like, it's how dynamic is the discussion. Kind of like every week comes up new projects, new opportunities for us to invest on subjects that I was even not aware that they could be a reality. So that's really cool. It's kind of like it's always learning mode. I'm always kind of like interested to see what's out there. What really motivates me on that venture side or like the areas of interest, it's always go back to animal performance and animal productivity. I'm a true believer that we need to have a long-term success and be sustainable on the long term on our industry. And that is through animal performance, animal productivity. We are blessed in the US to be kind of like on a very high level of performance and productivity on the cattle industry. If we are talking specifically on the beef side, on the feedlot, I think kind of like the level of productivity that we have today here, it's unspotable. And I think being on that far front and trying to go the next step, really kind of bringing the next technology, it's very exciting. And Merck Animal Health, we are like on a very good position because yes, we have the very traditional, strong business on the biopharma side, but we are also kind of like the biggest player on that technology on animal monitoring. And that give us a very good strategic alignment on the industry and position to be that strategic partner for new technologies, for new companies, to bring those solutions to market.
Cool. And what I mean, now that since you're seeing companies all the time, what are kind of some of the challenges that you're seeing in the industry for the next 10 years? Like, what are you guys seeing as a repeated, issue or a challenge that needs to be solved in the short term?
Uh-huh. No, yeah, I think so. Before we talk on the challenge, I think it's important just to understand where we sit today.
Okay.
And so we already discussed the efficiency and productivity of the US beef cattle industry. But another important point that people forgot, it's just kind of like the distribution of cattle in the US, which is beautiful. So like if you take the largest population of cattle in the US is our cow-calf operations. Those are mostly on grazing on our grassland. And that's a good thing because they play a crucial role on maintaining the health of the US grasslands. So that's extremely good for the environment, for the industry, for the country. Then, if we look on the other cattle population, talking about replacement heifers, dairy cows, feedlot animals on feed, those are extremely efficient. We fed them high energy, high protein diets, really allowing them to perform at their best. We are just passing through the Olympic Games, and I always like to make that association that those animals, they are the top performing athletes that we have. And as such, our industry provides them all that they need from a animal health, from a well-being, from a nutrition perspective, so they can perform at their best. Now, there is always ways to improve. And that's kind of like what we are looking forward on the next 10 years. And some of the areas, I kind of like break down these in two buckets on how we can improve. One is that incremental improvement on everyday work. So how we can make it our everyday just a little bit better. And people sometimes doesn't like much on that because it's not like, it's completely changing the industry. But I would say if we are able to do a little bit better every day, that counts a lot. And let's say like on the feedlot, if we can improve procurement, there is a lot of room to improve procurement. And what I'm talking with my customers, with people in the industry, they all recognize it's kind of like that feeling, yes, we are doing a good job, but we could do better. So how we can use technology to improve that? Also, kind of like when we are talking on predictions on the feedlot, when we are processing cattle at arrival, we are at the same time doing predictions on days on feed, predicting what's the finished weight of that cattle. And can we do it better? Can we use softwares that will improve that prediction, or at least how we manage cattle? Like, for example, with Cattler, being able to track that individual animal within the yard and like seeing treatments and kind of like their performance, how we can leverage that data to be more productive, to be more efficient.
Perfect. That's really, really clear. And I think it is that never-ending improvement, that kind of what we always strive for. But then also it's the possibility of I think we've talked about this off air and in other moments, is how the livestock world is always about 20 years behind precision row crop, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as if right now we're only just starting to scratch the surface of what is really possible. And most importantly, like you start talking about grasslands and rangelands and how we're able to connect both points just to really see how everything works.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find really, really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's kind of where I've always tried to find that opportunity, because at the end of the day, we do have a lot of rangeland. Yes, the feedlots, and yes, the packers. But at the end of the day, the consumer will always win. And the consumer, what he's trying to find now is more information, is kind of what's been going on with this, what's the path been. So that's what that's that was my own rant on kind of how I enjoy what I do also.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan, I think you touched a very good point when we think on customers. Kind of like with our customers, like the people that's actually buying food on the groceries, they will drive a lot of our decisions. But I think like if we just go back 2-3 generations ago, every single person in this country would have one friend that was a farmer.
Right.
And that was never a problem because they had that connection with the farm. Nowadays, it's when we have the population that's most far away from our industry. Right. And it is also the generation that's that wants more information, that wants to understand more what we are doing. And I think we have a beautiful story to tell. I think we do a very good job. We always can improve, yes, but there is I think our industry it's always challenged on how we talk with the broader audience, and a lot of what we are doing, a lot of the information that we're generating, kind of stays within the livestock within our industry, and we have a hard time passing that over to the broader audience.
I agree. And what I've seen also a lot of is a lot of our members, they've actually even started their own direct to consumer beef company.
Mhm.
Just to name one, McLean Beef is one of them in New York, Nebraska. They have their own, they have their own yard, they have their own cattle, and then they have their own processing plant that has they also have a restaurant there, but ultimately connecting, it's a great place to go. If you're ever in New York, Nebraska, you have to go to McLean Beef.
Yeah,
But
I already had their burger once.
you did?
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. And, um, but I think that's where I'm also seeing a lot of the like the opportunity, because they still maintain the margin, they still maintain control over their own product. And I think I've also Kobe Rice beef is another one that does their own direct to consumer. So all of these opportunities really, I think is kind of where I see a lot of the opportunities in the
Mhm.
industry for a lot of the consumers as well, for the consumers and for the farmers, as you said as well.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
No, yeah, I was kind of like agreeing with you. But I think there is like two sides of that same coin. And yes, there is that is very special place for our producers to go direct to consumers. But also kind of like there is the broader population that they are not close by
Yeah.
and they need to go through the traditional chains. And honestly, kind of like some of the points that we forgot to mention is just the cost of the food per se.
Yeah.
Kind of like and so like that mainstream big volume of product that's important, and that's kind of what's achieving the mass population. And we need to be able to work with them. They are doing an extremely good job as well. And I think we need to balance out those two sides, right?
Very true. I couldn't agree more. If you were able to go back in time and talk to a younger Rodrigo back at the farm when he was 8 or 10 years old, when he was starting his whole career, what would you tell him? And what would you also tell kids who are thinking about getting into this industry that both you and I are very passionate about?
Yeah. So, hey, you just used the perfect word there that we are passionate about. And I think that's one of the best assets that we have on our industry. The people that's working here, it's really passionate about. And I think kind of like it kind of becomes a lifestyle, right? Kind of like and I think that's really good. So like one of the things that really attract me on our industry, it's just the people that I'm working with. And I'm on a very nice position of kind of like being on a global role, that I have like the opportunity to talk with folks back in Brazil, from Australia, from New Zealand, from South Africa, and just kind of like learning more about all these different what's different on those places. And it's completely different from what we are used to do. So kind of like one point for the young generation is kind of like, hey, our industry, it's excellent, great people to work with. And I think kind of like looking back, it's really do not be afraid of change and kind of like just jump on new opportunities. I think every single time that you are too comfortable, you you're comfortable because you are at the top of your game, because you stopped learning. And I think when you're at that comfortable position, just look what's next, what I'm going to do next, and always keep that process of learning and just embrace the unknown, kind of like opportunities doesn't come on the perfect package, right? It might be the wrong timing, might be the wrong subject, but if it's moving you forward, I would say just jump on it and kind of like you always can learn as you go. The important point is having a support system and a backup plan, because if that doesn't work, you know that okay, I can do something else, but just don't be afraid and do just keep going and keep learning.
Awesome. All right. I appreciate it very much, Rodrigo. Thank you very, very much for the time. It's always great to talk to you. I've seen you many times in the field. It's glad to just package it into something that other people can also learn and also learn from you. I mean, you have in my opinion, like a crazy great experience. And it's great for also people to get to know you outside of this. So I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
No, yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, talk with you, Ryan, and kind of like, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the field, and hopefully we'll be visiting some feedlots together soon.
100%, 100%. Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Thanks, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.